Our top story. The Russia-Ukraine war has escalated in recent weeks with increased attacks on both sides of the border. Kyiv says that it is preparing long-expected counter-offensive. Ukraine and Russia have accused each other of blowing up a dam and causing widespread flooding in the southern Ukraine. The South Command of Ukraine's armed forces said that Russian forces blew up the Soviet-era Nova Kakhovka dam in the occupied Kherson region. Ukrainian authorities say that 16,000 people are in the flooding critical zone and the evacuations efforts are now ongoing. Videos show intense explosions around the dam and water surging through. The dam, 30 meters tall and 3.2 kilometers long, was built in 1956 on the Dnipro River. It holds water equal to that in the Great Salt Lake in the U.S. state of Utah and supplies water to Crimea and the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Russian news agencies said that the dam had been destroyed in shelling. The mayor of Russia-controlled Nova Kakhovka city was quoted blaming an act of terrorism. Moscow is shorthand for an attack by Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, has praised Ukrainian troops for advances claimed near the devastated city of Bakhmut. On the other hand, Russia says that it has repelled a large-scale attack and launched new strikes on the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. The contrasting claims come as Pope Francis's peace envoy arrived in Kyiv for 2 days of talks. Speaking on the battle for Bakhmut, Zelensky said, and I quote, "I am grateful to each of our warriors, to all our defenders who gave us the news we expect." Remember, in May, Russia said that it seized the now destroyed eastern Ukrainian city, the scene of the longest and one of the most bloodiest battles of this war.
But we see how hysterically Russia perceives every step we take there, every position we take. The enemy knows that Ukraine will win. They see it. They feel it thanks to your strikes, soldiers, and in particular in Donetsk region. Thank you for that.
The boss of the Russian mercenary group Wagner, Yevgeny Prigozhin, also said that Ukraine's troops had made gains near Bakhmut. Russian troops, he said, were slowly leaving the village of Bakivka near Bakhmut, which he said was a disgrace. In the southern region of Zaporizhzhia, Moscow-installed officials said that Ukrainian troops were on the offensive. The region is home to Europe's largest nuclear power plant and has been partly under Russian control since the start of Moscow's offensive. The officials said, and I quote, "It looks like the die has been cast and the next months will clear up a lot." He added that the fight will be serious because there is a lot at stake. Russia launched a new wave of overnight airstrikes on Kyiv. Ukrainian officials say that air defense systems downed more than 20 cruise missiles on their approach. The military said that falling debris hit the road surfaces and damaged power lines to the trolley system in Kyiv's most populous district. Earlier, Russia said that the enemy launched a large-scale offensive in 5 sectors of the front on Sunday, south of the Donetsk region. Large parts of Donetsk have been held by pro-Moscow forces since 2014. It is one of the 4 eastern Ukrainian territories that Russia formally annexed in September, along with Luhansk, Zaporizhzhia and Kherson. The Russian Defense Ministry stated that it defeated new attempts to pierce Russian defenses in southern Donetsk. So the big story we are getting to you at this hour is that several villages on Dnipro River has been flooded. That's coming according to Ukrainian official. Ukraine is now evacuating residents, saying that 16,000 people are in flooding critical zone. Why has this happened? Because a major Soviet-era dam in the Russian-controlled part of southern Ukraine has been breached. Now, there has been accusation and counter-accusation as to who caused this breach. You can see that breach in those pictures, water gushing through that dam, through that breach in that Soviet-era dam. Now, this has unleashed floodwaters across the war zone in both Ukraine and Russia. and both sides are saying that it is the attack by the other's forces. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has now said that he will be urgently convening his Security Council meeting on Tuesday, which means later today. Russia, remember, has said that it has thwarted a major Ukrainian attack in the Donetsk region over the weekend, and on Tuesday the Defense Ministry had said that a fresh Ukrainian assault had been repelled. But the big question over here is, has the Ukrainian counter-offensive begun? Remember, there have been pro-Kyiv militia who have claimed capture of a town within Russia in the Belgorod region. Now this attack coming in on this dam. The question is, who carried out this attack on the dam? Both sides are blaming each other, and whether the counter-offensive that Kyiv has been planning for long has finally begun. Now remember, this dam, which has now been breached, it supplies water to the Crimean peninsula that was annexed by Russia in 2014. And critically, it also supplies water to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which is also partially under Russian control, and gets cooling water from the reservoir. Now, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, is saying that at the moment there is no immediate nuclear safety risk at the plant due to the dam failure. But the UN agency, the nuclear watchdog, is saying that it is monitoring the situation closely as this story unfolds. Right now there has been a breach. The Ukrainian President is going to convene a Security Council meeting shortly, as both sides, the Russian side and the Ukrainian side, blame each other for this breach in the dam, a major explosion in that dam causing that breach and water gushing out of that dam. There are these videos that show water surging through the remains of the dam, with bystanders expressing their shock. There are some unverified videos on social media showing those bystanders expressing their shock, sometimes in strong language. Water levels are racing up by meters in a matter of hours. There are evacuations that are taking place. Ukraine is evacuating residents, saying 16,000 people are in flooding critical zone, which needs to be evacuated. Several villages on Dnipro River are flooded. That's according to an official in Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has blamed Russia for the damage. Russia, in turn, blames Ukraine for blowing up this dam. So that's the big story that's coming in at the moment, that the Kakhovka hydroelectric dam has been partially destroyed by multiple strikes. That's what Moscow-installed authorities in southern Ukraine has claimed. But Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky is blaming Russia for the damage. Let's go across to our guest joining us right now on this big developing story. We are now being joined by Olena Tregub, Secretary General, Independent Defense Anti-Corruption Committee. Thanks very much for speaking to WION. My first question to you is, how serious an escalation is this dam being blown up, a major breach in that dam because of that explosion? How serious an escalation is this, and what are the possible ramifications of this?
I think it is, of course, very serious, and this is what the President Zelensky and Ukraine has been warning for a very long time, that Russia actually might do this if they are desperate, if they want to basically defend the occupied territory. But this is a catastrophe, environmental, technological catastrophe, and the most serious thing that can happen, apart from people, villages, and nature being flooded, is that the water level in the river will go so low that it will be hard for the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant to take water from that river to cool the nuclear reactor. This is the most serious thing that we are now looking at.
Ma'am, you spoke about the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Now, IAEA chief had laid down 5 principles, to guarantee the safety of that plant, because that is critical for that region. Now, with this dam being breached, the IAEA for the moment is saying that there is no immediate nuclear safety risk, but that they are monitoring the situation closely. How critical is it to protect that Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant?
Well, it's very simple. Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is the largest power plant in nuclear power plant in the whole Europe. So it is very critical that it stays safe, because otherwise their catastrophe can be huge and will affect not Ukraine, but also Europe.
Ma'am, also I want to understand from you, who has the wherewithal to carry out such a strike? You know, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba had said yesterday that Ukraine now had enough weapons for a counter-offensive, but declined to comment when asked whether that counter-offensive had begun. So, whose interest does it serve, A, to blow up this dam, and who has the wherewithal to do it?
Well, the territory where this dam is controlled by the Russians, and Russia right now is trying to use everything they can to protect their occupied land. They built a lot of fortifications, and there was this risk, which we knew about, that in case Ukrainian army will be advancing, that they will decide to blow up the dam. And it was being discussed now for many, many months. So Ukraine will not blow up a dam on its own territory in a way to damage its own country, because what we are now viewing, it's not some minor thing. They now maybe will have huge damage, and President Zelensky will now have the meeting of the National Defense and Security Council to assess what's going on and how much the damage will be. We do not have clear picture as of now.
Ma'am, I want to understand from you, yes, the Ukrainian president is urgently convening his Security Council meeting to assess the damage, but what are the options on the table as far as Ukraine is concerned? A, if they think that Russia has done it to counter this, and B, to repair the damage?
Well, first of all, Russia should be prevented from doing any more damage, because this dam, we don't know if it's the full dam or it's the partial damage. And if international community pays attention and holds Russia accountable, Russia may be deterred from doing even more damage. I think this is what's important now. Also, what's important now, Ukraine started evacuation of people who live in that area, because their local governors said that it will take 5 hours to flood those villages and towns, and people need to leave within 5 hours. So I think as of now, everybody in the world should be looking carefully what's happening there, because it may end up in something much bigger than it is right now.
It may end up in something much bigger. Ma'am, what sort of international support and support from allies, the Western allies, would Ukraine be looking at this moment?
First of all, there should be some legal repercussions for Russia for doing something like that. Russia should be recognized as a terrorist state for doing something like that on a foreign territory. And Ukraine should receive all the support, including weapons, in order to prevent Russia from continuing to wage this horrible war. And Russia should be sanctioned to the fullest maximum capacity, so that it doesn't have any opportunity to go on with this terrorism and with this war.
Ma'am, there have been reports of pro-Kyiv militia within Russia taking control of a town in the Belgorod region inside the Russian territory. Now, do you think that there are Ukrainian intelligence forces at play over here that seek to punish Russia within Russia?
Well, of course, Ukraine has full right to conduct any kind of hybrid operations on Russian territory, because Ukraine is protecting itself. And if there are some Russian citizens who would like to, help protect Ukraine, they do it at their own will. I think this is something that Ukraine is not responsible for, but at the same time, Ukraine has full right to protect itself in all possible means. And I think, of course, we will see more and more of that happening, because we see that Russian regime is now not as solid and not as strong as it used to be before the invasion.
Ma'am, one final question to you. Is this how the Ukraine's much planned counteroffensive, is that beginning to take shape? Has it now begun?
Well, I think that it's a very complicated process, and it's not something that would begin overnight. And there are some operations and some steps that Ukraine is doing before the offensive. And it's hard to say what is exactly the day when offensive begins. I think it is already going on, but it's not a single event. Even those things that are happening in Russia, for example, these are part, we can see it as a part of Ukrainian counteroffensive.
All right, Olena Tragub, thanks very much for joining us with your perspective on this big developing story, a dam being breached there by multiple explosions. The Kakhovka dam on the Dnipro river that has been blown up in that dam was supplying water to the Crimean Peninsula and to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. That power plant, the IAEA is saying that there is no major nuclear threat at the moment or the safety risk at the plant, but that they are watching that situation closely. So how is the situation going to unfold? We'll keep an eye on that.